Welcome back aboard Arabella. This week we're keeping the ski gear packed up and going old school with a few woodworking projects inside the boat, as Steve starts counting down the days until sailing weather returns.
That's how much ice is between Arabella and open water. With the weather that we have now and the rain we had yesterday, I don't think it's going to last too much longer, and we'll see. We will be free soon. It's time to get some spring boat projects done. It is time for boat work.
The first project today involved fixing up one of Steve's most treasured tools, which suffered a broken handle a few weeks back.
I've had this hatchet since I was a little kid. If memory serves me, my mom gave it to me for Christmas, I think when I was 12. And I have used it for so many adventures since. I can't believe I haven't lost it after all these years. And I have put a few different handles on it. Oh, man, can I just say I love this vise. You just be able to rack that and have it fit. That's so nice. Anyways. So I've had this head since I was 12, and I've broken the handle many times. I used to buy a handle to put on it, and then as my woodworking got better, I just started making handles to put on it. So this busted one is a Steve special. I put this one on at some point building Arabella. This is a piece of white oak that was left over from making her. White oak's not the greatest tool handle wood, but it works. It served well. I broke this when the dock was being supported by some blocks of ice, and I used this to cut it and ended up breaking the handle, which happens.
Oh, no way!
So let's get that old wood out of there in a drill bit, and we're just going to go in between the wedges and take out the bulk of the wood. And vacuum as we go. We've drilled some relief holes. I'll take the punch and just see if we can push these bits of wood out. Easy peasy. Now, since our workshop is literally in the living room, I'm gonna do a little vacuuming and cleaning up before we go on to the next step. I think I have enough meat on here to remount this head. I might have to glue on a little shim or something, but I think it's gonna be pretty close. And I don't have any oak or preferably hickory here to make a new tool handle out of, so we'll see if we can salvage this one. Get the old bits here cut off. It's kind of neat here. You can see where it's dark where it was exposed and fresh where it was inside. So that gives us great lines for where we need to cut down to. Let's see about that. See how close we are to going on. Definitely need to take that nose off a little bit on the back, but the width looks okay. So you can see where it's dark in the nose there. I'm gonna take some of that off. But the width-wise is looking pretty good. Gonna round out the corners in the back some. Use a little less aggressive than the Shinto to clean this up a little bit. Put a chamfer on the top, just help guide it in there as we do the fitting. Back here is where I think I'm gonna have to add a little bit of a shim. So now what I like to do is put that in there, give it a thunk, pop it off, and you can see exactly where you're hitting. And I'll just keep working one side or the other, both, looking down at, trying to keep this tongue that's going to go in nice and straight. If it seems like the head's kind of cocking one way or the other, I can take more off one side. Same thing with the head going kind of forward to back. I can play with that. I'll just keep working that down and just seating that head down. And then at the very end, we'll get rid of whatever little shoulders we have. So we are coming on a little crooked. I'm going to take more off this side. Okay, that's looking straighter. Pretty good little bits there to take off. Alright, and just keep chugging along, picking away at it until that sits down on there nice and straight. It's a little easier when you're working with a fresh blank, because you can cut things and make it square before you round things out. Trying to work with something that's already round and shaped it's a little more challenging. Just sneak up on it a little more. That's fitting much better. We're gonna get rid of the shoulder here, and there's a little divot in the back where the handle isn't quite big enough. I'm gonna have to fit a wedge. But all in all, I think we can get another round out of this handle. Got a little wedge of oak here. Throw some glue on there and pound it home. But before we can do that, we got to get the top of the handle split for a wedge. You mount an axe head or hatchet head. There's a slice that runs through here, and you put a wooden wedge in there, and then the two metal wedges get driven. So the wood wedges expand it this way, and the metal wedges expand it this way. So I have to make that cut for that wooden wedge to go into. So once the heads fit on there nice and tight, we'll make a wider wedge than this, but that wedge will go in, and that'll push this out, and that'll expand to fill every single nook and cranny in the top of that head. all finished. So, scuffed it up a little bit where I had it clamped in the vise. You can see we had to put a bit of a taper on there, or a wedge in the back corner. It's definitely not the best handle job I've ever done, but for reusing a handle that broke, I'm pretty happy with it. And then in this end here, put in our black locust wedge, because that's what I had, and put our metal wedges back in. This forward one gave me a fight. I clipped it with the drill and the bottom's a little messed up, so I think next time the handle breaks, it's time to replace at least that wedge. This one might have some life left into it. They've been used many, many times. So there we go. Put her back into service. It's cool that I've had this hatchet head for so long. And since I was 12 and I'm now 41. I can't believe I haven't lost it. This thing has seen some use, has seen some things, it's been on some adventures, and I hope many more. The cracks in the ice are getting bigger, almost by the hour. I heard from Rod this morning, and he said just to head on by and pull out the planer and dig around and pick out some larch. So we've got a couple larch boards here that he's had in the garage that are nice and dry. I'm gonna get these run through the thickness planer, get them cleaned up a little bit. I brought my circular saw there, can knock these down to a bit more of the size that we need. Well, it's going to be cool to have some Newfoundland larch, hackmatack. They call it juniper, but I love working with local woods, and this is great boat wood. It's good for planking. You can do all sorts of stuff with it. I just got back from Rod's, getting a bit of larch, and I'm gonna lay some out here for Victoria's transom repair. Her transom cracked all the way from one side to the other, right at the height of the seat. And this is where the rudder attaches for when you sail, and those ripped out of the mahogany. And we've got some separation on the corners, even though I did some work on that when I did some glass repair when we were back in Granby. And the big issue here is just that the mahogany is salvaged wood. It's just really old and it's kind of brittle. And when we clamp the outboard on here, it just puts a lot of twisting torque on the transom, and that old wood has just not been up to snuff. So what I plan to do here is to cut this whole mahogany transom out and get that replaced. And this is what I plan to replace it with. So major thanks to Rod for these larch boards. And this is what we're going to build a new transom out of. So I planed these down to 3/4 of an inch thick. And now we're going to lay out kind of where they want to be for the transom. And we'll get these pieces cut to rough length and stacked on the workbench in the boat and clamped down. And that way they can finish drying and they should stay flat. And in the coming weeks or a couple of months, I'll get this made up into the transom. This is probably our nicest board. I think if we just cut that right where that knot is, cut you there. So that'll go there. Next one we want just a little bit longer. These are all gonna get their edges jointed, glued together into one big panel, and then that'll get fit in and put in on the transom. But this is as far as this is gonna go for now. We'll go put these on the workbench and clamp them down so they stay nice and flat, and let them finish drying a bit. The ice is disappearing so fast. It really feels like spring. It's like someone flipped a switch. I'm sure winter will come back and make an appearance before all this melts out, but wow, what a difference the last few days. This is my makeshift jointing setup. So I've got a thin board on the bottom. This is kind of acting as a stop. You get this end clamped. And now one thing I really like, there's a few things I really like about this Veritas plane, but one is how high the shoulders are here, and that's really nice and square to the blade. So you wouldn't normally use a plane this short to joint, but it's the only plane I have on the boat because we're not carrying a joiner plane or a bigger smoother, but you can see how nicely that sits on its side. And with this giant aftermarket knob that I put on it, you've got a really good bit of control. So we're sliding the plane flat along our nice flat workbench here, and that is gonna joint this edge. So it'll be 90 degrees as long as I hold the plane flat. And my challenge is keeping it from getting wavy. So the longer plane you have, the more it floats over those high and low spots, doesn't want to follow them and wants to take them out. The shorter your plane, the more it wants to follow those curves. So I trimmed this with the circular saw. I can just see my pencil line. And we're gonna pop this on here and take this down. I'm gonna try to watch that pencil line, and if there's a spot that I bite a little more and that pencil line is a little bolder, we're gonna hit that just a couple times until we just barely see a pencil line down its full length here. So right now I'm trying to get the little wiggles out from me using the circular saw. Oops. Looks like a pretty even pencil line at this point. So now we'll run down the whole thing. So that wasn't bad. It gave us 2 shavings. Let's see if we can get it down to 1. Have it. There's 1 full length shaving. Now where the grain is pretty straight and it's pretty clear, it's not difficult to do. In some of the sections, like this other side, it's got a knot, so it's got some grain that reverses a little bit here at this knot. We got a little reversing grain here, we got a little more reversing grain here. So getting a nice smooth full length ribbon on this side is gonna be a little tougher, but it's the same principle. Just gonna shave down until that pencil line is 1 real thin, even line. And that should give us as straight as I'm gonna get it. And then 1 or 2 passes with the plane to try to take that final cut. It's in the end here, I don't even have the line. All right, 3 shavings. Three shavings. It's probably what it's going to end up being because we're breaking here on this curly grain and we're breaking here on this knot. But I'll try it one more time. Yep, that's exactly it. Broke on the little knot, broke on the reversing grain. But otherwise, that should be a pretty straight edge. At least good enough for what we're doing with it. Not too shabby. Good enough, good enough. When I built Arabella, we had the wood stove here originally, and the stovepipe came up through, and it was probably one of the most contentious things I did with building the boat, that and the workbench. And one obviously is not here anymore and didn't work out, and one I am enjoying very much and so glad I put in. So 50-50, we live and we learn. So I threw this together after we took the wood stove out. It's just some old mahogany from Victoria, a little bit of the tile from around the wood stove, and it's served. It hasn't been great. This is a bit of a catch-all, and this isn't really tall enough to stop things from falling out. Underneath here is just kind of like a black hole that you have to move all this stuff to get to. The access for some of the bins in the back here it works. It's not super great. So I think it is time to fully rebuild this. And one of the reasons for that also is that it's just not super sturdy. So after all of our sailing, we were coming across the Chuck, which is the Cabot Strait from Nova Scotia to Newfoundland, and they call it the Chuck because it's really bouncy and people puke all the time. And this was just getting pushed back and forth, and as you can see, it's not super stable anymore, and it's probably one good bump away from all of this just spilling out. So before that happens, while we're here in stationary and while we've got access to some local lumber, I think it's time to get her done. So I've got the panel that goes in here. I've got most of the pieces kind of figured out, and it's challenging living aboard and doing work because both of those things have to coexist. So I've done as much prep as I can, and I think it's now time to clean this stuff out, put it on the workbench for now because that's a great storage spot, disassemble all this and start building it up new. I think it's going to be a great improvement. It's going to look better, it's going to function better, and it is not going to be in risk of just coming apart one of these days. Originally, I cut this bulkhead out thinking that this would be the armrest. The wood stove is here, but that is not the case anymore. And there's no way on earth I'm gonna match this homemade oak plywood at this point. Certainly not here in Newfoundland. There is no white oak. So we're gonna, I think, end up cutting this back a little bit. And I glued up a panel of larch hackmatack, tamarack, juniper, whatever you want to call it. That's going to go here. That'll give us a little higher divider here so things aren't spilling out. And it'll also kind of give us something to lean up against, which would be nice. We don't really have that. The bins below here work great. I've been really happy with these. So one of these is Robin's coffee supplies. Another one is breakfast. Another one has like a bunch of nuts and stuff in it. And then one is just kind of rando food storage. So we're gonna leave those be, and we're essentially gonna rebuild from this panel on up. I'm gonna reuse some of the plywood for some of the dividers, and the base, we'll paint it white. Just save some weight, it's a little more efficient. I have it, so why not use it? I'm gonna reuse the tile that's in here, because that's been really nice to have. And be able to have a, look at this thing just falling apart. So we'll reuse that. And that's really nice to take stuff off the stove and just have a place to put it. The pots live there most of the time. Let's take this all apart. It's already coming apart. I'm going to add one more board to my glue up panel here to go next to the settee. Got it on some plastic, and I've got a row of stops here and the dog holes in the back, so that's keeping this panel from going back any farther. And I'm using some of Total Boat's Thixo Fast Cure for this. So it's thickened epoxy in this kind of caulking gun setup. And man, when you just need a little bit of epoxy and a controlled manner, this is pretty handy. There we go. Good glue squeeze out. Use that piece of cardboard again. Oh, might as well use our food bins. All right, that feels pretty good. Seems to feel nice and flat. Should hold the panel down, keep everything from bowing. We'll let that dry.
Like most things in life, the spring melt is not linear. Winter came back with a vengeance last night. And it's been blowing all night. They say like 10 inches of snow fell, and we've got more coming today. The snow's helping the ice settle back up. It's not done with us yet.
Wow.
When I was building Arabella, there was no shortage of advice and no shortage of information and experiences to look upon. And one that really stuck with me was this guy on the Wooden Boat Forum named Bruce. And he built himself, I believe it was a 34-foot Venus Catch, strip built with cedar and epoxy on the West Coast, and did it in just like an unbelievably short amount of time. Just incredible. And then he proceeded to sail it all over the place over the years. But one of the things that Bruce said that really, really stuck with me was that he had a Sawzall interior, that he built it with a Sawzall and he would fix it or change it with a Sawzall. And that really kind of stuck with me. If you see, refits and boat work, interiors are constantly changing for one reason or another. Things break, you get some new systems, you find a better way of doing something, your life changes, maybe the boat gets damaged in some way, shape, or form, and taking out a chunk of or all of the interior is the easiest solution for fixing it. So I wanted an interior that was really nice, and that if the interior stayed put for a long time, that I wouldn't be looking at it and going, ugh, that's gross. But I also didn't want to put so much into the interior that when it came time to change it for whatever reason, I didn't want to feel stuck with it. I didn't want to be sad about taking it apart or having some insane amount of work to do in some boat yard with limited resources. I was trying to do work like this while living on the boat with the tools we have on the boat. It's very different than doing the work not living on the boat with a full wood shop. So cutting into the panel and changing this like this is something that I didn't know what I would change. I didn't know when it would happen, but I was pretty sure at some point it was gonna happen. So here we are, cutting into Arabella and making changes. Well, it's a wrap for now on the food storage. It needs to be sanded, it needs to be varnished. I'm gonna paint the inside. You know, I gotta knock these corners off, get everything sanded. I gotta knock this bottom corner off. But it is far too cold outside right now to paint and varnish, and it is too cold outside to open up the boat and do it in here. And this is gonna get used, it's gonna get stained, it's gonna get dinged a little bit between now and when it's warm enough to do that. So I'm gonna leave it in its unfinished form here. It's totally functional and we can use it and see if we really like it. And then when the weather's a little bit warmer and we're painting and varnishing and doing all of that on deck, I can take this apart, bring it out, and get it finished. Spring boat projects have started in earnest. Winter season is wrapping up, and I've got the eye on cruising season, which is coming pretty soon. It's still snowy here in Newfoundland, but it's melting out. Days are getting warmer. It's coming. I've been sewing like a fiend, trying to get the things done that aren't temperature related. Pretty soon it's going to be warm enough that I can paint and varnish and do all that kind of stuff, get Arabella ship shape for the next cruising season. And in conjunction with that, we've launched a bonfire campaign with this really awesome design. I remember when she was trees, Acorn to Arabella, Journey of a Wooden Boat. We've got a Kiva there, Arabella under full sail. It's 10 years ago that I was cutting down trees and getting ready to build the boathouse and dreaming of being here, frozen in the ice in Newfoundland. These t-shirt campaigns really make a difference for the funding. Patreon is what keeps the lights on. It allows me to pay Ben to keep editing the videos. And for things like haul outs and upgrades, all the canvas, all the material for the canvas work we've been doing, the spring haul out, the brushes, the rollers, I'd really love to see if we can rally enough to get a wind vane self-steering system for the boat so that we don't have to run the auto helm and we don't have to listen to that when we're sailing. And that would give us 2 ways to have the boat self-steering in case something happened to one, which would be really amazing. So we're hoping that the people would be interested in picking up a t-shirt, sweatshirt. You can find the link in the description below. It's also on our website. And all the proceeds go towards getting Arabella ship shape and ready for this next cruising season. So thank you for the support. I couldn't be doing this without you. And we look forward to getting underway again soon and all the adventures to come. So, funny story. I've had this hatchet head since I was like 12. It was a Christmas gift from my mom. Somehow I've never lost it. I've used it a ton. It's probably lost an inch on its edge from being sharpened over the years. I don't know how many different handles I made for it. And I put it on the boat because I could never leave home without it. And Satchel was like, what on earth are you ever gonna do with that hatchet? Now we know.
Oh, no way!
Ah. That's a bummer.
Oh, no way, honey.
Yeah, it's not the first time I've broken a handle.
It's just the handle, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, use it long enough, it happens.